How's it going, everybody? Happy Saturday. So, I just happened to watch this video by Moon talking about Eyes Wide Shut, Stanley Kubrick's last film before his passing. And the revelation inside of, well, specifically the ending, but I'll get to that. But mostly due to the fact that, like, there are probably other scenes in the movie that were too risque. Like, apparently there were, like, multiple, like, naked scenes that were cut, like sexual scenes, whatever, right? And the whole film had this feeling of familiarity that we all know too well living in current day 2026, you know. And that is, it's a lot like Nickelodeon. It's a lot like Jeffrey Epstein. It's a lot like Harvey Weinstein. It's a lot like when men have uh, unreasonably large amount of power and sway that they can do things and act with freedom and impunity that we all kind of knew and feared about, especially as we were growing up, like watching, especially like rewatching. Okay, so I never actually really watched uh, Disney Channel because okay, I'm Canadian. If I want to watch like the anime, because it's just it's too adult, it's teenaged. Gundam Wing and Dragon Ball Z. It's only on YTV, which is our like Canadian community channel, which isn't commercial free, mind you. But like you could only like dream of how crazed it is. Like just sitting down watching the Disney Channel or like any Nickelodeon show, you get this idea that they were pushing these kids into this faux pseudo sitcom esque type of thing, which is fine, right? For the sake of like um, appealing to advertisers and like mass appeal for like the kids that are watching it. If you're just doing it for them, but then you watch these recordings, especially on Nickelodeon and even some on Disney, and it's crazy how much the perversion of these older Hollywood execs shines through, and it affects these children, especially as they get older. Like Amanda Bynes, I heard this other Disney Star Channel, like they all end up like addicted to drugs or like some hardcore ass shit, and they're almost at a state of like helplessness, and we're all wondering like what happened like to all these child actors, like this is an issue that we have to address. So I'm gonna bring about two examples that I want to talk on like in depth about, and that is the aforementioned Eyes Wide Shut, a film by Stanley Kubrick, specifically the ending that I did not watch. Now I gotta give you a little bit of history, like these are like these old ass films that like get reruns and you'll like see them once in a while and they're like, oh cool, when you're like a kid growing up and shit, you're like, oh it's Tom Cruise, oh shit, it's gonna be like some action movie, right? Which is like 80-90% of his movie catalog, but then you get the other 10%, you're just like, oh shit, it's just talking drama. And I mean he's a great actor, Tom Cruise, but it's like this is one of those movies that I honestly thought was just like, okay, the worst possible case scenario to have occurred like in the observation of Hollywood, right? So basically the gist of the story is powerful actor, like no, not powerful actor, like, powerful guy, and he knows like all these powerful people in the government and shit, and he's hosting these like sex parties, and his wife like wants to like mess around, and then like Tom Cruise's character is also messing around, and it's this weird thing where even like the director Stanley Kubrick is just pushing these like subconscious images into your head of like underage women used to like flirt with and like make men feel like proud of themselves, better about themselves. It plays on that insecurity, because the Nicole Kidman's character was like going after this older guy. So it's like, Tom Cruise's character has to go like, after these younger girls now. And it's like this kind of game that they play like around with each other. And like yeah, it has whatever. I don't feel like going over like every single plot point in the movie because I'm just baffled that like not only did the ending go over. Well, I honestly didn't watch the movie. I watched like scenes. Like I said, like I'll see like the movie playing and it's like, oh, it's this movie. Like, it's just like boring. It's going nowhere. And I'll just like, whatever. Watch something else. So I don't know exactly what happens, but at the end, right? Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman have a daughter, and this is the part that I think pissed Stanley Kubrick off, and it's like very ominous that like this was 4 days after he was screening the release of this movie, and as it, like the movie was being screened, they said that he was yelling at the execs, the producers or whatever, that they basically chopped up his film. They're like, "What the hell did you do to my film?" And then he died 4 days later. All right, so like you can go watch Moon's movie. I highly recommend it. It's like 21 minutes. Whenever I watch like things that long, and I kind of hate YouTube for this because I'll just like take like that long to do like 300 sit-ups. Maybe obviously like a little bit less, like probably 17, 18 minutes. But then I gotta add on the commercials. Then I gotta like fuck. Do I like sit-ups for like 25 minutes, man? That's worth it because it's like the ending is what really got to me. So the daughter that these two people have, these fictional characters, mind you, it's just in the movie, right? Is taken by the organization to be like initiated into their like sex parties and shit. Yeah, man. This came out, I believe, in 1999. Okay, or maybe it's sooner. I don't know. It was uh, actually it doesn't, it doesn't actually really matter because like I think he passed away in 1999, Stanley Kubrick. But more to the point, he was trying to warn us back then, and nobody listened to the guy. It's just like what I mean, like how Hollywood does that to like make people seem less credible. It's like, look at this guy; he looks like a crazy person. He's like his hair, his eyes, and they always have these like editorials and like hit pieces that they put on people, and it's so crazy because not only was that like a almost a one-to-one like thing. Now you got to look at the broader spectrum of that. So not only do you have people in power, but you have people wanting to be in power, wanting to get in power to derive the same result. They want to turn people's children into their property, basically. And that's why we have so many problems around the world. That's why, terrorists are popping off. There's like this one where they're like trying to set off a bomb in Paris, a bank. Oh, like, why of all places would you go there? I mean, yeah, if you're trying to like get a lot of people, I guess. But like, it's like one of the more heavily guarded places to be, going out. But it's that desperation of like realizing the only way you're ever gonna get back at people is if you try to like shift the power ratio of control, the balances. They're trying to shift it in their favor. They're trying to rewrite, recreate the human race in their own image. But then I thought about it, like really, really thought about it. It's something more to it. And I think that we all have to come to terms with the realization that girls are a lot like celestial beings, like entities of like, at least the guys, right? Both progress and change, but also true fear. The fear of like, loss of oneself, basically. And what I mean by that is, so there's this other game, and I know this is like crazy that I'm bringing this in as an analogy on an aside, but this game called Look Outside, right? This indie game, 2D RPG, where you have this gigantic alien that visits Earth, right? And as it visits Earth, it starts looking at people, but it's so powerful, maybe because of like radiation or something, it changes people and they all get, warped and heavily mutated. It's just like a horrific experience for them, but like the creature doesn't actually know what it's doing. And I know that like it's um it's a crazy thing to say to like link these two together, but I feel as if like when you take the internet, celebrity, like the whole idea of like image, like control to like, get people to do what you want, it's kind of like the same effect that women can have on men. Like you'll have a guy and he was just like, by himself, he's all like normal and shit, and then he sees this beautiful woman and he's just, he's changed. And the horrifying truth is that we all change differently when we encounter women. Some of us try to like, impress them. Some of them try to like me. I even in some ways impersonate them. Like first still subconsciously, and then I took the conscious effort to like, do the things that I do, which, to this day, a lot of, my family members consider completely unnecessary, and they're right about that, right? I shouldn't be walking around with like, lipstick, nail polish. We got earrings that dangle and stuff now. I didn't actually wear them yesterday. I'm just like, I'm bringing this up as an aside, as how I changed just by observing and being observed by women. Now, I don't think this was again, this is not a conscious effort on women. Like their beauty was so like mind breaking that I think that I'm not alone in this. And now we all have to be honest with ourselves when we talk about the trans movement, specifically the guy trans movement. I think that's what we're talking about when it comes to this. You know, the whole idea is like you observe and you're being observed by like a divine, being entity that like you can't understand. And even though that like you can communicate, like your body, your mind just can't handle it, and it just warps your mind and maybe possibly your body too, like in a good way if you're like working out and shit. Like I think now is the time more than ever, in light of all these world issues and conflicts, to just embrace the pain and like understand that this is happening to you. This isn't, anything special that's just happening to you. It's happening to everybody. Everybody is wondering why they can observe women, they can talk about women, they can even like, shower them with praise, but to truly understand them is like mind breaking, for most guys, right? Myself very much included. Now, that's okay. That's fine. That's to be expected. But I think, right, that the different ways around the world, how it changes us, is what like really defines us as a species, because it's not just the whole hokey pokey saying of like, takes two to tango, but that is the, genetic disposition, if you will, of the children of these two individuals, these two lovers, mother and father. You know, the way girls dance, it changes men. The way girls speak and sing, it changes us. What they think, how they feel, if they're scared and stuff. Like even though you try not to, it sucks too, eh? Because it's like I'm saying this, and deep down inside that I'm right about it. Most of the time, not all the time. Sometimes you could tune it out, but most of the time, when a girl starts getting concerned about her safety and shit, you get concerned. And even though you don't want to like admit it, like you just want to like say that like I'm in control. I can like take care of myself. I don't need to like take care of you. You don't know me. It's like it's that instinct that kicks in as a guy, and you don't control it. That's why I say like you know it's not fair for women to get hurt by the idea that they're shouldering the burden of the human race, basically reproducing us solely. And all we do as guys is just the act. And that's why all around the world, it's like from kids to teenagers to adults, the madness of it all. You can't be changed, I mean, unchanged by, the influence and the beauty of women. I think, like, especially when it comes to politics and the lies basically behind it. Forget about like who's right and who's wrong for a second, and like think about what is the ultimate gain in it all. Like, what is the end result of either party winning? Like, what do they want? And then it's the basic, and it's sickening. It's frightening. That's why, like, I have that unfortunate belief. Like, I thought a lot, especially when I was like a teenager, a young 20-year-old, mid 20s and shit. I was gonna find someone, fall in love with her forever, and like, be able to trust in her and confide in her. Um, I've always had trust issues, mostly because I never really acknowledged that I was very much, getting my mind warped by like my lusts, my cowardice, whatever you want to call it. Like, it was just my incapability of understanding that even though I could point the finger at all these guys and their shortcomings and like look at Stanley Kubrick's film and like they're taking the kid, which is important. It's important to bring these topics up and stuff, but like we have to understand why it's happening and how we can better ourselves and not make light of it anymore. Like it's something that we all are affected by. Now, we have to be responsible about this because knowing this means that the newer generations are basically on the cutting block. The world was built by pedophiles and perverts who had an unreasonable amount of power in the government and media and otherwise. So I want you all to take this as a lesson learned that the pain is inevitable and it's necessary because that's how the world is. It's a dark place. It's full of evil people, and some of them, like the most hardest working, most dedicated people. Like you can argue about the morality of Stanley Kubrick. Um, I'm not going to judge him. He already passed on. But if we can just look at his work of media, specifically this film, as something to go by, just think of it like this, right? Tom Cruise was literally starring in that film at like a super young age and stuff on purpose, right? To show you that veneer of Hollywood that is pretty much very much present today. Because it's like, I hate to say this, but like Hollywood is a way of like picking and casting stars that I know I'm gonna come off as racist by saying this, but kind of look alike. You know what I mean? And it's just that like yeah, Tom Cruise is a very attractive, notable guy. He looks like he looks, but he also looks like a lot of other celebrity people. And Nicole Kidman, is also ubiquitous. You can argue she kind of looks like Margaret Robbie. You know what I mean? Like what I'm getting at is it was right there, right in front of our faces the entire fucking time. Even Tom Cruise was saying like, "Yo, man, stay away from these like pharmaceuticals and shit. Stay away from these like people and stuff." Like, but he can't talk too loud because they would have canceled him too. And they're all there, just like if you watch Moon's movie, I mean, YouTube video about it, I'm probably gonna link it. It's definitely worth a watch. I'll link it. Um, you could even see in their interview like how they're like these topics are brought up, and these guys are superstars, mega superstars, super uncomfortable on set. We have to understand that women will change us as men, and it's our responsibility to change ourselves for the better. The world is highly corrupt and awash with cowardice and weaklings. The only thing you can do from this moment on is embrace the pain as an inevitability. not only for their sake, but for the sake of like the future. I think it's more than a dire situation now. It's a reality that we can't escape. Thank you so much for listening. Have a nice day.